Hello, everyone. My name is Kin Moev, and today I'm going to tell you about how I created my first startup from scratch. This will be an honest account of the real stages with examples, failures, and conclusions I've drawn. If you also dream of launching your own project, make yourself comfortable in this video. You will find not only a step-by-step plan, but also many tips from my personal experience searching for and formulating an idea. I started, like many, with a search for an idea. To be honest, I tried to come up with a brilliant thing that would blow up the market. But after weeks of brainstorming, I realized that real ideas are born from the pain and inconvenience that you personally encounter. For example, one day I wondered why food delivery is always delayed and it's unclear when the order will arrive. That's how it all started. I began to write down what annoyed me in everyday life, queues, inconvenient apps, and the banal waste of time on routine tasks. What helped? I wrote down even the strangest ideas in notes on my phone. I discussed them with friends. I caught their reactions, which often provided valuable insights. I used mind maps. I simply took a sheet of paper, wrote the problem in the center, and drew arrows how to solve it, who had already tried it, what would happen if I looked at it from a different angle. I was inspired by Product Hunt and Reddit. Sometimes I even just read the news. Other people's mistakes are a great source of ideas. Market research. Next, I checked who actually needs my idea. I admit this is where I made my first mistakes. I relied on, I think. That doesn't work well. I started looking for statistics. I looked at Google Trends to see how many people were searching for something similar. I compared it with foreign solutions. If the product exists abroad, then we can try it here too. I wrote to communities and asked, have they encountered this problem? How are they solving it now? It is especially important to determine TAMSAM and SOM. I calculated that if 100,000 people in the city could potentially use the delivery service, my actual segment was 5,000 office workers in the city center, and my piece was those who place orders more than twice a week. I quickly realized that mass markets are not always more profitable. Sometimes a niche means more money and less competition. Competitor analysis. You need to know your market neighbors. I simply took the top 10 apps from the App Store and Play Market and tested them myself. Reading reviews in the store proved to be especially useful. People honestly write what annoys them. I managed to find the weak points of my competitors. Terrible support, inconvenient ordering interface, no delivery to certain areas. I made a table for myself, advantages, disadvantages, how we can stand out. This helped me formulate my USP file. Delivery to offices in 30 minutes. The hypothesis. Next came the scary part, showing my raw idea to people. I put it together, wrote a short description, fast delivery of office lunches, and posted an application form. I launched targeted advertising on Instagram for office workers. I spent literally $100 on the test. In a week, I received 14 applications. For me, that was happiness. At the same time, I asked my friends to fill out a short survey in Google Form, what they use, what problems they have, how much they are willing to pay. Some respondents even suggested additional features that I hadn't thought of. When I realized that there was a response, I started thinking about how to turn this hypothesis into a minimum viable product. Assembling a team. I couldn't have done it alone. I had neither the development experience nor the time. I wrote a post in all the professional chat rooms that I was looking for like-minded people, not competitors, but people who were interested in testing the hypothesis in the real market. No salaries, just a percentage of future profits. I was lucky to find a developer who quickly put together an MVP and a marketer who advised me on how to convey the value to the target audience. We discussed roles and responsibilities in advance to avoid confusion. Important, I proposed a test task to do a small project together in 2 evenings and see how we actually work in stressful situations. Minimum viable product. We agreed no perfect interface or beautiful pictures. The MVP had to appear as soon as possible. Over the weekend, the developer created a Telegram bot that allowed users to choose their lunch, specify their office, and order delivery. Everything was kept as simple as possible. The prototype had only 2 buttons: select, lunch, and place order. No unnecessary details. We showed the bot to friends and colleagues and asked them to give us honest feedback: what was convenient, what was annoying. Orders were placed manually because our goal was to gauge interest, not to automate the process. After 2 weeks of testing, we received our first 20 orders. Each customer received a short survey and we collected feedback. Financial plan and first money. I honestly listed all possible expenses: advertising, basic development, food containers, packaging, payment system commission. I even spent 2 evenings compiling a simple income and expense table. For the test, we used our savings, literally $2,000 from each of us. We paid for advertising and purchased the first batch of products for lunches. We realized right away there is no need for large expenses at the start. For example, many of our friends gave us plastic dishes and lent us a small thermos. We didn't make any money on the first orders, but we didn't lose money either. And most importantly, we understood the economics of our product, what minimum check we need to break even rationally. First customers and sales. Before the launch, we sent out a test mailing to friends and acquaintances. If you like it, tell your colleagues. We gave a discount to the first 10 customers and included a small dessert as a gift. I sat on the phone myself, answering questions and collecting initial feedback. Some complained about delays, while others were happy that everything was fast and convenient. We then discussed all the mistakes during team calls. The greatest joy was the first payment. I still keep those 400 rubles from my first real customer as a reminder that someone really needs your product. Marketing and growth. I set up social media accounts. I created an Instagram account, posted stories about the life of a startup, and made posts with customer reviews. I asked my friends to talk about on their accounts. It worked. More orders came in through recommendations. I thought about SEO and created a small website in Notion with the history of the project and added a blog with tips on nutrition in the office. Several friends with experience offered a barter lunch in exchange for a post on their Telegram channel. We ran a joint promotion with the office center, a discount for all tenants, and bonuses for repeat orders. The sales funnel was simple. People hear about us from friends, visit the bot, place their first order, receive a gift, recommend us to their colleagues. Mistakes along the way. It would be strange if everything went perfectly. The first mistake, we ran a promotion without calculating the cost price. We ended up losing money on 2 orders. We had to call the customers directly, apologize, and explain the situation. There were disputes within the team: who is responsible for purchasing and who is responsible for customer service. Personal advice: discuss all responsibilities beforehand. Otherwise, arguments and misunderstandings are inevitable. Sometimes I was caught up in perfectionism. I wanted to provide perfect service and kept postponing the launch of new features. But I realized that it's better to have a raw product now than a perfect one never. Mentors and environment. My environment helped a lot. I asked friends who had already started businesses for advice. Some were happy to share their mistakes and life hacks, how not to blow the budget, where to find free tools, how to communicate with your first customers. I participated in acceleration programs and online intensives to expand my circle of acquaintances. Mentors not only helped with advice, but also with connections. They recommended our services to their partners. When and how to attract investment. At first, I even thought about investment. I'll find an investor now, and everything will work out. But I quickly realized that money is only needed if you already have some initial success. I prepared a project presentation, a financial model, and a short video about the service. At one of the events, I met a business angel. We talked honestly about what was already working and what problems there were. This gave me confidence, but I decided to grow at someone else's expense only after the first few years of successful work. Conclusion and final checklist. That's how I went from an idea to my first customers. Let me just remind you of the key steps. 1. Idea, what's your personal pain point? 2. Market analysis of their customers and who are your competitors? 3. Hypothesis testing, will there be demand? 4. Team, who to go with? 5. MVP, minimum viable product. 6. Finances, every penny counts. 7. Launch first customers and sales. 8. Marketing and growth. 9. Mistakes, don't be afraid of failure. 10. Mentors, learn from the experience. 11. Investments when it's time. Thought to end with, the best way to start is to just start. Scary? Then you're doing it right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Share your stories in the comments. I'm sure you'll do even better.